Everything you know about the world is a lie, and I mean this on every single level. Anything that you've been taught spiritually, materially, scientifically, is all a lie. And the purpose of every lie is an attempt to tell the truth, because you can't tell the truth in this world without telling a lie. Let me explain what I mean by this. So, in order to explain anything, you have to be able to limit the definition of that thing in order to communicate it. So when we talk about the sun, we refer to a ball in the sky that shines light, but it isn't just a ball in the sky that shines light. You see, that's technically a lie. But if we wanted to really explain what the sun was, you'd have to first know what we're pointing to. So at first we say, see that shining ball in the sky? That's the sun. The next question would be, what's the sun? You see? Well, the sun is there, and you go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. You can't just say to someone at first, you know this, and then go and explain the exact scientific interior of the sun. People wouldn't know what that is, you see? So every single teaching that we're taught is a lie. So you have to assume everything you know is a lie. The highest place that we can start in this video while still making sense, partially, is that the world isn't made of anything. And now the reason I start there is because science has already exposed that the world is made of 90% nothingness, 10% matter. But the issue is that they've never found the 10% that's made of matter. So they admit 90% of the way that the world is made of nothing. They just struggle to get rid of that last 10% of belief in the fact that nothing is actually there. So it's almost like they're 90% convinced the world is made of nothing, but 10% convinced that something must be there. The thing they think must be there is called matter, but they've never found that, you see? Quantum physics now tells us that the world is made of quarks. But the only issue is that these quarks blip in and out of existence. So they do and they don't exist. How does that make sense? Something does and doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. Something that fundamentally exists cannot be taken away from something. Something can be and then not be. That thing must borrow its reality from a greater reality. It must borrow its existence from something that doesn't start and stop and come and go. So what we're left with is that the world is made of something that cannot be perceived with the mind. That's the result. We usually think, no. If it can't be perceived by the mind, it doesn't exist. How do we know? How do we know if something can or cannot be perceived by the mind if it doesn't exist? If we do not even know the mind in which we are perceiving. If one doesn't know the substance or the structure or the understanding of their own mind, how do they know that what they're perceiving in the world isn't influenced by the mind that's perceiving it? So how can you basically get the results of any true scientific experiment if you do not know the tool with which you are using to explore it? It's basic common sense. I would never expect to get a scientist to tell me what is inside an object using a telescope made of pixie dust and fairy farts. How do they know what that even is? It's like, I would never expect a telescope to be used that had a faulty lens, a crack, some type of blur, an orange tint, right? Something that obscured the instrument that is being used for the scientific experiment. If it is in any way sacrificing any integrity of the clarity of that thing, you would never expect to use it for a clear and accurate experiment. So why do we expect to use the mind, which we do not understand, which we do not have any clarity over, to explore the material world? Makes no sense. So one must first understand their mind before they can actually have any idea about what is going on in the world. Now, the beautiful thing is the minute you start to understand your mind, you realize that your mind never comes into contact with the physical world. So we usually think scientists are using their mind to see through, they're using their eyeballs to see through a telescope into a little atom, and they're seeing the atom. They're not doing that. That's not what they're doing, because they never come into contact with the physical world. And what do I mean by that? When you look at things with your eyes perceive what you think is an object, right? You think your eyes look at something separate from your mind. Like there's gaps, there's a gap between my eyes and the object is there, my eyes are here, my eyes see the object, and that object exists outside my mind. And my eyes are just there ready enough to see it. This does not make any sense. Why? Because the only thing your eyes see are color. Color doesn't come from objects. This is also basic science. Color doesn't come from the object. Objects don't actually have color. So all experience of color is an experience of our mind. Now we could say, well, that's fine then, I'll touch the object. Well, you could touch the object, but the only thing you're touching is a sensation. You don't actually touch an object. The experience you're having is a sensation. It's not an object. The question is, can we experience something outside experience? Well, I don't know, because it would be outside experience and that's never provable. The argument that we're having here, the premise that we're having is the things that are in experience. Now, if you agree that the phone you're watching this video on is in your experience, then you're in my experiment. If you're in my experiment, then you must be basing this whole experiment on your direct experience. Why would you come up with something that is outside your experience? Because you'd never be able to experience it. So your phone right now that you're holding, and you're feeling the sensation of it, that's the experience you're having. You're not having an experience of a phone. If you close your eyes, the actual experience is a sensation. It's not a phone. You give thought and belief and story and meaning to the sensation and you call it a phone. But without eyesight right now directly experiencing it, you don't experience a phone. You experience sensations. Now, the question is, do phones have sensations? Well, our conventional idea of a phone doesn't have sensations inside it. If you open up the phone, you won't find a sensation. So the question is, well, what am I experiencing then? Well, that's the question. What are you experiencing? If not something that is inherent with your mind. Sensations are an experience of our mind. They're not an experience of a thing. So you don't actually contact the phone. You contact an experience of sensation. You also don't contact the sight of the phone. You contact an experience of color, which is a mental experience. But that's all you have to experience is the sight of something, the sensation of something. If you had an apple, you could taste it. Taste doesn't come from an apple. This is also science. Taste does not come from apples. The taste of something is purely an experience created by our mind. Our mind decides the taste based on what it's tasting. But the question is, what are we tasting? If you cannot sense the apple, because seeing the apple is not actually the apple, sensing and touching the apple is not actually the apple, that's an experience of our mind. Tasting the apple is not actually the apple, it's just an experience created within our mind. What are we actually tasting and touching? You see? This is the question. This is where the opening happens. This whole video, the premise of it, I don't really care about telling you what is true, what is false, what is right and what is wrong. I care about opening your mind up to the possibility that you've never actually come into contact with the physical world. That's the opening here. You just got to be open to the possibility. It's just got to be a bit wonderful to you to realize I actually, on a level of experience, not made up nonsense, not like, well, I assume I experience it because this is my experience. You, on the level of actual experience, you've never touched an apple, you've never tasted an apple, you've never seen an apple. You've tasted, touched, and seen, but you've never tasted, touched, and seen a thing. You see, a thing that is outside the mind. You've only experienced something within the mind. Now, when I say within the mind, I literally mean within the mind. I don't mean within the mind, within your brain, within your stomach, within your feelings. Your mind isn't just thoughts and feelings. Your mind is also your perceptions. Your mind is your sights, your touches, your tastes, your sensations. Everything that you can experience is your mind. So your mind isn't just a thing within your head. No, your head is within your mind. Your head is a sensation that is also within that. The premise of this video is to get you open to the possibility that everything you know is wrong, the way that you see the world is false, and there's a new way of seeing the world, which is actually much more in touch with reality. It's much more in tune with the way the world actually is. And you can see that very clearly right now by realizing I have never actually experienced something outside my mind. Because if it was outside my mind, I could not experience it. Because the only things I can contact are mind experiences. Sensations, sights, sounds, whatever other senses there are. Someone commented on my video, there's like 11 senses or something like that. Anyway, the regular senses are basically all we experience, and to varying degrees, versions of that. So thoughts are like sounds, right? It's a sound-like experience. Visualizations, they're like sight-like experiences. They're still sight-like, sound-like, you know, they still come in a form, even if they're not the form that we usually see. So what we're realizing is that the world is not actually a solid, dense place made of separate objects. It's made of what we call mental experiences. Now, this doesn't mean the world is made of our personal mind, because what is our personal mind? Do we have a personal mind? You see? Is the mind a person having a mind, or is there just a mind? Well, my answer to that would be there's just a mind. There's no person that has a mind. You don't have a mind. There's you, which is basically the experience of your mind, the experiencer, and the experience all in one. You are both that which experiences, the mind that you are experiencing, and all of that experience in the same thing. So there's no center point where there's a subject and an actual object that you perceive. The whole experience is one holonymous, non-dual experience. So all of this to say, everything that we see is a lie. Now, that doesn't make it wrong. Seeing the world in that way doesn't make it the wrong way to see the world. Seeing an apple as an apple isn't the wrong thing to do. You know, I don't walk around going, oh my God, that's not even an apple. I can't even taste an apple, so I'm not going to eat one. I'm going to go, oh, that's a nice apple. I'm going to eat that apple. It probably tastes good. We want flexibility with reality. We don't want duality to be convincing us that it's fundamentally real. Nothing has its own existence. Everything borrows its existence, just in the same way that a wave doesn't have its own existence. It borrows its existence from the water. The water is the real thing. The water is the thing that has the reality. Waves are movements of the water. Now, what does that relate to in our experience? Consciousness is the thing that has the reality. Everything is a movement of consciousness, pure consciousness. Pure consciousness is absolute. So pure consciousness can never actually be known because it is the knowing. So when you know pure consciousness, you're technically knowing nothing. That's the experience of pure meditation. So when you see monks and people in the monasteries, they're all working very, very hard just to understand that one thing and experience that one thing, pure consciousness. Pure consciousness in the absence of the world. That doesn't mean the world disappears. It means everything is seen to not be what it actually is, which is actually the premise of what this video is about. So basically it's seeing that there is no separation between ourselves and the world. The world isn't actually there as a physical thing, just like I look like I'm on your screen right now at a distance from wherever your point of view is, but I'm actually not. If you touch your screen, the wall behind me is not at the different distance to my head, right? My hand and my head are on the same screen. There's no actual gap. In the same way, there's no separation in this reality. We don't make phones and computers and stuff because we just come out of thin air. They're blueprints of how reality is. Everything is a fractal. The macro creates micros, and the micros are macros to other new micros. Everything is a blueprint of reality. So everything is like a poetic expression of what a greater reality is and what comes before it. What is the ultimate reality? The ultimate reality is the absolute, that which transcends any possible experience of reality. And that's what experiences reality. That is what is literally having this experience right now. So when we have spiritual teachings, they're just layers of lies stacking on top of one another until eventually there's no more lies left because you're left with the truth. And the truth is, and that's it. Thank you for watching. I have a free community. The link's in the description if you'd like to join. I do free calls every week. I post exclusive content. You can hear my inner thoughts and feelings as they come. We go a little bit deeper there than we do on the YouTube videos. It's the very top of the iceberg kind of stuff that we talk about here. So if you enjoyed this, I'd hope to see you there. Have an amazing day. Take care, guys.